In a world where climate change has become the greatest challenge of our time, few nations have been watched as closely as China. Once known as the world's largest emitter of carbon, the country now stands at the center of a bold experiment, an effort so massive that it could reshape not only its own future, but the future of the planet. The story begins not with speeches or promises, but with something much simpler, a plan. A plan that carries a price tag of $50 billion and an ambition that stretches from the deserts of Inner Mongolia to the coastal cities of the Pacific. It's a plan that some call impossible, others call revolutionary. But inside China, it has another name, the Great Green Shift. To understand it, you have to look back to the beginning of the 21st century when China's industrial engine was roaring at full speed. Skyscrapers rose overnight, factories burned cold day and night, and cities disappeared under blankets of smog so thick that residents joked they could taste the air. Growth came fast, but at a cost. Rivers turned black, the skies turned gray, and the country's own leaders began to realize that the model that had built modern China could also destroy it. By the 2010s, the consequences were undeniable. Air pollution was claiming millions of lives each year. Melting glaciers in Tibet threatened the water supply of hundreds of millions of people. Typhoons grew stronger, droughts longer, floods more violent. The government faced a choice: continue chasing growth or change course completely. Against all odds, it chose the latter. That choice became the foundation of China's $50 billion climate strategy, a national effort to move from the age of carbon to the age of clean energy. The first step was energy itself. China began to invest in solar power on a scale never seen before. Vast fields of blue panels appeared across the deserts of Qinghai and Xinjiang, glimmering like lakes of glass. The Tengger Desert Solar Park became so large it could power entire cities. Then came wind, thousands of turbines stretching across the grasslands of Inner Mongolia, their white blades spinning quietly in the cold air. Within a decade, China had built more renewable capacity than any other country on Earth. What once had been the symbol of pollution became the workshop of clean energy. But the plan went far beyond power generation. The Chinese government began to reimagine its entire economy around sustainability. It poured billions into electric vehicles, building highways lined with charging stations and factories dedicated to producing batteries that could store solar and wind energy for the future. High-speed rail networks expanded, connecting distant regions without the need for short-haul flights. Urban planners redesigned entire districts to be smart cities, where traffic lights, buses, and buildings operated on algorithms that minimized emissions. The $50 billion figure wasn't just a budget line, it was a declaration of intent. It funded massive research programs in carbon capture, green hydrogen, and next-generation nuclear energy. It backed experimental forests designed to absorb carbon dioxide and reintroduce biodiversity. It helped relocate entire villages threatened by desertification and supported farmers who switched to sustainable methods. The result was something unprecedented, a climate plan that treated the environment not as a burden, but as an opportunity. At the heart of this shift lies a philosophy borrowed from China's own traditions. In ancient times, philosophers spoke of harmony between humanity and nature, Jian Ren Yi. The idea was that humans are not masters of the world, but part of it. For centuries, that idea was forgotten in the rush for progress. Now it has returned, reshaped by science and necessity. When Chinese policymakers talk about ecological civilization, they mean a society built on balance rather than exploitation. But ambition alone doesn't change the planet. Action does. One of the most striking examples of this plan in motion can be found in the province of Shaanxi, once known as China's coal heartland. For generations, coal mining defined the region's identity. Towns grew around mines, black dust covered every surface, and the local rivers carried the smell of fuel. When the National Clean Energy Plan reached Shaanxi, many feared the end of their livelihoods. Yet the transformation was far from destructive. Old coal sites were repurposed into solar farms. Miners were retrained as solar technicians and wind turbine engineers. What had once been a symbol of the old industrial age became a hub for the new one. The numbers tell their own story. By the early 2020s, China's renewable energy output exceeded 1,000 gigawatts. Electric vehicles became the norm in major cities. The sale of gasoline cars was set to end by 2035. For the first time, carbon emissions began to stabilize and, in some regions, to fall. The world took notice. Skeptics had long claimed that a country so dependent on manufacturing could never go green without sacrificing growth. Yet China proved otherwise. The green industries it built created millions of new jobs and opened global markets worth trillions. The $50 billion plan also has a quieter, less visible side, one that unfolds in laboratories and research centers. Chinese scientists are now leading in fields like advanced battery chemistry, solar efficiency, and climate modeling. In one facility outside Shanghai, engineers are developing solar panels that can generate electricity even under moonlight. In another, researchers are studying how to turn captured carbon into building materials, literally using pollution as a resource. These innovations are not only helping China meet its goals, they're reshaping global technology itself. Still, the path forward is far from easy. Challenges remain. China's population is massive, and its appetite for energy is still growing. The transition away from coal, though dramatic, is not yet complete. Rural areas often lag behind cities in adopting green technologies, and critics question whether the government's environmental efforts can keep pace with its industrial ambitions. But for every obstacle, there's progress. In recent years, entire rivers have been cleaned, abandoned mines turned into wetlands, and smog-filled skies cleared above megacities that once seemed doomed to permanent haze. There is a human dimension to this transformation too, the quiet stories of people whose lives have changed. In Gansu province, farmers once crippled by drought now use solar-powered irrigation systems that draw groundwater efficiently. In Guangdong, coastal villages have turned to mangrove restoration to shield themselves from rising seas. In Beijing, young engineers design carbon-neutral buildings that blend bamboo, glass, and recycled steel. These stories rarely make headlines, but together they form the living heart of the plan, the proof that climate action is not abstract policy, but a movement touching every corner of daily life. The global impact has been equally profound. As China's industries retooled, prices for renewable technologies fell worldwide. Solar panels, once expensive luxuries, became affordable for developing nations. Wind turbines became cheaper, batteries longer lasting. By sheer scale, China made clean energy accessible to the world. In a way, its domestic policy became a global climate policy. Some call this green geopolitics, the idea that environmental leadership can replace military might as a source of influence. Whether intentional or not, China's green revolution has changed how nations think about power, both electrical and political. Of course, there are contradictions. The country still builds coal plants for energy security. It still exports carbon-intensive goods. Balancing progress and responsibility is a delicate act. But even critics admit that what's happening now is historic, a transformation at a speed and scale unmatched in modern history. $50 billion may sound enormous, but compared to what's at stake, the stability of the global climate, it's a small price. There's an image that captures this story perfectly. In the middle of the Gobi Desert, there stands a massive solar array shaped like a giant panda. From above, it looks almost playful, a smiling symbol of clean energy. But it's also deeply symbolic. The panda, China's national animal, once stood on the brink of extinction. Now it thrives again thanks to conservation. And so, too, the planet might find new life if nations follow the same path: persistence, protection, and balance. Today, China's goal is clear: to reach carbon neutrality by 2060. Whether it succeeds or not will shape the fate of billions. But the signs are promising. Forests are expanding, renewable energy is soaring, and pollution levels are dropping faster than experts predicted. The Great Green Shift is no longer an idea. It's a reality unfolding every day, and it carries a message that transcends borders. If the world's largest emitter can change course, anyone can. When future generations look back, they may remember this era not just as the time of crisis, but as the turning point, the moment humanity began to heal the damage it had done. Perhaps they'll see the shimmering solar fields, the wind farms, the reforested mountains, and say, this was the beginning of hope. This was when we learned that saving the planet wasn't an act of charity, but of survival. In the end, China's $50 billion plan is not about money at all. It is about imagination, the belief that an industrial giant can reinvent itself as a guardian of the earth. It's about the millions of people who decided to build a cleaner world, one panel, one turbine, one tree at a time. And it is about us, because the story of China's transformation is not just China's story. It's the story of what's still possible when humanity decides to act. The sun rises over a field of solar panels stretching to the horizon. The wind hums through the turbines. The air, once thick with smoke, is clear again. Somewhere, a young child looks up and sees the blue sky, truly blue, for the first time. That, perhaps, is the real measure of success. Not the billions spent or the tons of carbon reduced, but the return of something simple and priceless. The feeling that the future can still be beautiful. Thanks for watching. And if you found this story hopeful, be sure to subscribe for more.